Okay, so last time I talked about the way that the Doodle Notes activate both sides of your brain and it increases focus and makes connections between your neural pathways by using the picture superiority effect. Um, so this is a little thing that I put together and I wanted to see how you interpret it. So, what are you seeing?
How in the world?
How in the world?
Oh, what am I seeing? Black and white. Think puzzle. Riddle. See an eyeball. How on earth?
How on earth? So, Doodle Notes, but how on earth? It's all in being able to make that connection. So what I've done for you is I've given you the basic layout. And you start with a template. And you guys are thinking, oh my God, how do I do that? I actually start at the end. What do I want this to look like? So I create something that I'm going to use, and from there, I work backwards to piece it together. Choosing your fonts. When you're dealing with Doodle Notes, they want you to be able to make important fonts larger and not so important details smaller. And the graphic you just showed me, now I can utilize that by hollowing out things so they can color them in more. Graphics. Graphics are your key points. These are your pictures, your Venn diagrams, your activities, your how on earth. But you need to make sure you leave space that allows kids to actually perform what it is you're asking them to do. And then the last actual part of this is something interactive. Do you want them to work an example for you? Do you want them to compare something? Do you want to? So that's up to you. You can embed any kind of task, make it labeling, questions, puzzles. I'm trying to think in terms of the last thing I did was I embedded writing. So I would give them thought bubbles and they would just have to do their writing in it. Pretty simplistic, right? Most important, double check. I'm known for my typos, but after all, I do teach math because I'm not an ELA person. There's a spelling error in the beginning of every one of mine, and a kid will catch it, and I will reward that kid because I am very appreciative. So, be fluid because you're going to make changes. Like Ms. Stafford was saying when she first came in, she likes to modify for the following year. Set your time limits, 5-10 minutes. You can either do one yourself and use that as an example as you're moving through things, or I like to use document cam so the kids can actually see me do the work with them. And it's very important that you keep your documents and that you're able to bounce between your platforms, because some things will not integrate between Canva and, say, the older Word. So they're great for all content areas, doesn't matter what you're working on, you can put one together. And if it's so easy, Hansard can do it. I like mine because I've managed to work differentiation, which actually helps with my accommodations on my lesson plans. So here is one of my latest, which would be my angle pairs. And it's as simple as I give them all the information and all they have to do is color coordinate, or I give them most of the information where the underlines are my open and they have to fill in, or I give them very, very little information and they have to keep up with me and write more and color more, and this allows them to use their color coordination and set things up the way that they want to. My most recent one was the circles, which I also use for differentiation. My kids who are rarely here, I just gave them all the information with open stuff, so all they had to do is follow along in color. Second one was just mostly provided. They plugged in some information. I took a little bit more away for those kids who can do more but play lazy. And for my higher thinking classes, it was completely blank. They only had the topic provided and were required to do everything else. So, be realistic. Don't expect perfection. Remember that you'll enjoy doodling as well, and it will help you think about how you want to lay things out. Always try new techniques, new pictures, things like that that you wouldn't necessarily consider, like how on earth. And begin by coloring lightly. Don't push your ink down into the page so hard it's going to bleed through. That second little sheet I gave you is kind of an easy how-to. If I don't know what to say, I don't know how to begin, start with a key concept, expand on it, your I can statement or your standards. Find a way to make a connection between your prior and your future application. I always provide some form of direct instruction, some form of a model so they can look back to it, and an example where they have to try it themselves. And for my ELA and my others, you can tie in academic vocabulary, the strategies you use, and problem solving. But your main thing is to blend your visual and your auditory to help retention. That is all I have for you. You guys have any questions?
So you mostly use Canva? Or
I
is there another
actually
platform?
started in Docs until Hans swayed me in Canva, and I've been playing back and forth in Canva, but some of the smaller ones I've done on slides. It just depends on the platform that you use and I don't know, slowly. Yes, everything in Canva. So,
Do you ever have issues with kids like just getting carried away, like coloring, and they're missing the content?
I tell them 5 minutes, and at the end of class, they have 15 to complete their coloring, you know? And they're, obviously, you have the kids who are like, I don't want to color. Oh, that's fine, just keep up with us, and here, use these pretty pens, and that's a form of color coding.
Yeah.
The only problem with that is make sure you get your pens back. No, you're fine. Maybe you already have
So,
a study guide.
For like a gifted student, one of the characteristics of gifted students is that they're perfectionists.
Yes.
And a lot of times they get paralyzed by that.
Yes.
So how do you, when you're, they're doodling and they just can't get started because they've got some perfect concept that they're wargaming in their mind.
That's why you provide them an outline, a template, so to speak. So they have a small outline and you can guide them slowly without saying, do it this way. It's like definitions. You're free to define things the way that they make sense to you. You don't have to write it verbatim how I have it. So because they are their notes, they just need to understand them. I don't seek perfection, I seek progress.
So you start them off with all information provided.
I make my final copy first. This is how I hope it looks. Then I make a copy. I take some stuff out. Then I make a copy of that one. And I take some more stuff out. And then I make a copy and remove a lot. So if you start with your final project, what you want it to look like or hope for it to look like, everything else is as easy as delete.